My black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white, yeah, it's black and white, we're just black and white, it's my black and white, it's my black and white scarf. My black.
Oh, good evening, welcome to episode 7 of season 5. We're going to be joined by the Pingu just in 1 second. A 2-1 win for Dundalk at Oriel Park. We were just saying off air, we've come into last season and we've been talking about, losses and not winning games and not a lot to talk about. And Pingu, we're going to bring you in for Chicago. It's one of those games that even though we've won, it's just as well we're not doing our 90 minutes, 2-hour shows anymore. It's just kind of, we were worried it was going to be one of those seasons where we're not coasting, but I mean, there's kind of a little bit of, I don't know if it's atmosphere or just chances but we're going to have to get into these games where we do win, but maybe there's not a lot of talking points.
Yeah, first of all, thanks very much for having me on, Gally. I thought you were actually going to start singing there. Come on.
Chris has added too many features to this new season.
And he's not even on to work to himself. But yeah, no, I think it was probably, at least the first half, I missed the first 15 minutes of the second half, but I thought the first half was probably the best we played all season. I think, I know we'll get to the goals in a little while, but I think after we equalised, I think we dominated, didn't we? I think, to your point, it's going to be difficult to analyse some of these games, but a game like tonight, I mean, Longford Town didn't offer anything outside of the goal. They offered absolutely nothing. Which is probably better off considering we're missing our first choice keeper, left back, centre backs, with all that we've got missing at the back. I just felt like Longford didn't offer anything, and it was just one where they were just sitting, and you're just waiting for that second goal to go in. And I thought when that second one went in, maybe the floodgates would have opened, and we could have got another goal or two before the end of the match, but it wasn't to be. But yeah, it was overall, I felt like it was relatively comfortable, a relatively comfortable match.
It's like, and Sean, you'll be commenting as well, like yourself, it's because we've made a couple of changes, and you've got Harry Groom going in centre back. We then have Sean Spate making a competitive start at left back. I actually thought he was 18 years of age. I couldn't believe it when Adrian Tapp said he was 16. You've obviously Gabe Devon still in at right back, but it's a makeshift centre back. But again, like you say, even though it's a 2-1 win, it should be probably a tighter game than it should be. But again, we've looked relatively not overly comfortable, but like you said, Longford offered up in the 18th minute, they've scored a goal, definitely against the run of play, although we weren't great either. But I mean, we've had some chances, we've had half balls, we've got some great play in the build-up, I suppose. But then again, we're probably a little bit hesitant on goal. There seems to be a little bit of want to take an extra touch. Like, we really should be putting teams to bed. Like you say, apart from that goal Longford got in the 18th minute, we probably should be putting these teams to bed earlier. We've had chances later on as well, but even just take the first half, we've almost looked relaxed. It's almost been like, you put a midfielder at the centre back and it doesn't really look out of place. Longford really didn't put us under any pressure up until that split second of a goal.
Yeah, and I think, like, to your point, it looked like we were coasting at times, and I think I put a message into the group chat that Daryl Horgan for me, in the first half alone, was probably the man of the match. He was best player on the pitch, and I mean, you could see his quality. He looked like, I think I put it in the group chat, that he was playing for fun. I think the way that he just moved the ball around, the touches he was taking. We'll get to talk about someone else who was taking nice touches like that in the second half. But it was a slow enough start. But even to your point, like Longford's goal was just against the run of play, and it's again, I know from listening to the last couple of weeks, I haven't been able to get on. I think ending Minogue's a big miss, and I know the goal isn't all on Peter, but at the same time, a goalkeeper that's confident, a goalkeeper like Endon Minogue's not letting his back line drop that deep. I think Adrian Taft called it on the commentary that Cherry actually called for the ball as it was coming back in, and you could see that he kind of half hesitated, and then I don't know if his boots were glued to the ground or whatever, that he wasn't able to get off the ground to try and make that save. So that was a rough one, but again, you and Chris talked last week about we haven't had an opportunity to see what this team is like coming from a goal behind, and it was great to see us score, get the equaliser so quickly.
We're talking about young defenders and coming through the ranks, and we're probably going to bring on a young defender who came through the ranks at Shelbourne, really, a local Rangers team. But Steph, just unmute your mic there for me, because I can't unmute it with my Chris Clark settings. Steph, what do you think of the game tonight? Albeit a 2-1 win, but like Pingu had said, and Sean, with these young lads coming in playing centre back, nobody really seems to be out of place. And even at 2-1, even 1-0 down, we said last week we hadn't seen this team come from behind yet, but it's relatively comfortable.
Yeah, I'm probably better off on mute, I'd say, but look, I was listening to a bit on the radio for the end of the first half, and then I've seen all the second half, but it's probably lucky that we played against Longford. There's 2 matches in a row. I just can't get over the standard of some of the teams in that first division.
And you're trying not to be too disingenuous.
You're not. You're trying to take all the teams on merit, but
of course,
there's some of them teams out there. I don't know. I don't know how they're in the first division, but look, that's beside the point. You have to beat who's in front of you. But I suppose it was probably lucky. We've had a couple of games now where you're probably saying, we're not even, it doesn't even look like we're getting past 50%. Now, I don't know if we're just dropping our standards a little bit from our own play, or what it may be, but we're dominating possession, but there's not really loads of clear-cut chances. Some of the final balls just seem to be off, and I've been watching. I haven't obviously come on the podcast yet, but it just seemed it sort of seemed like you were giving them a pass at the start because it was we're only past pre-season. It's a new team and they're all getting to know each other now. But 6 games in, you just like to think the quality starts improving in the final third with the crossing. But look, we've missed Gaxa as well, so obviously he's coming in after his Eric Cantona impression from a couple of weeks ago. But look, I think sometimes it's nearly too easy. Maybe if I don't even know if that makes sense, but it seems a bit too easy where they're knocking the ball about and they seem to be unchallenged. It was just for me, it was a strange selection. You're trying to figure out who's going to play where, and we'd about 12 midfielders in the starting 11. And so you'd have a lot of midfielders there. Harry Groom, I thought he was like an NFL quarterback there, just at the back, pinging balls, and he was really unopposed. But I think it was a bit of a strange one, and I don't know if Parashev maybe picked up an injury in training during the week or something, but it was just strange how, himself and Groom had played in midfield last week, and to take one into centre half, you think the other one would definitely be playing. But look, I think without him coming on, we might have been really struggling to break them down. I thought, he showed a bit of class for the assist. And I thought he was really good just in linking up play and being busy and closing people down and stuff. When he come on, he was impressive for me again. For a kid that's only turned 18, I think, is he? 17, 18.
He's a crazy good on the ball. Like
yeah.
I don't think I've seen anybody like at that age to be that. Like, look, we've obviously mentioned first division, but like an absolute baller. I mean, really, like I think we've mentioned him every week. Whether I got his name, the pronunciation of his name wrong, probably every single week since. But we mentioned Perishiff and Groom from last week. But again, Keith Ward has started as well. Do you think that's down to the injuries again, or is it is that seem to be a thing that Kilduff might use until maybe puts his hands up and say, look, I don't know if I can start every week. He's now started 3 on the bounce, I think, which is probably more than we probably would have thought in the first maybe 6 or 7 matches.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, there was once or twice I thought he was just, just the one that sticks out in my head is Devin does an overlap from right full past him, and he's 2 or 3 different opportunities to pass the ball to him, and he holds on to it. Devin actually comes back to give him support again because he'd overrun at that stage, and he still didn't play it, and he got the ball nicked off him. So I don't know if he just needs to keep the ball moving a bit more rather than stay on it a bit longer. It has been surprising, and look, there's been a lot of injuries that's been thrown up. Obviously, Gaxa getting suspended, but a bit of a spanner in the works as well. And I'd say Keith Ward himself didn't think he'd have played as many minutes so far this season as he has done. But I think he's probably got to that sort of stage in his career where he's probably more an impact player. I'd see him as an impact player from the bench, and we can get on the ball when teams are sort of getting tired instead of vice versa. Like,
I disagree with the two of you there. I reckon that
but
I reckon he's probably signed. I mean, it's an established Premier Division player, Wardy, so I reckon he was signed to play. Knowing that we're not operating off the highest budget, he's probably still one of the higher paid players. So he's not gonna. I don't think Kilduff's gonna bring in a player that's getting paid probably your second or third highest to sit on the bench. In saying that, I don't think anybody, I don't think Parish have done anything wrong not to start. I think with Wardy, I take your points that he probably doesn't expect to start, or he probably didn't expect to start as many so quick, but because he's coming back, I think, from an injury in pre-season. But I'd say that's what it's down to as well. Having that sprinkle of experience in the team starting, as well with so many young lads.
So just throw it back to you then as well. So if we have our strongest squad available, you think he's a starter then, just because he's second or third highest on the wage bill? Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the case right now, do I, Steph? But it depends.
That's what you just said. You said Kilduff didn't sign him.
You have to earn it. But you boys are turning around saying that you're not expecting him to start that much. But why wouldn't he be starting?
Yeah, I think for me, it's absolutely. Like you say, he's established. I would have, because he's come obviously from Premier Division. Look at the experience is second to none. I mean, he's up there with anybody that we've had at any stage in League of Ireland under Stephen Kenny. I would have assumed that he would have come in to play maybe the last 30 minutes if we were struggling, but it's very clear now that it's going to take a lot from, you're probably talking maybe in April time, Cove Ramblers down there. It's going to take a lot for us to be under pressure for 90 minutes in the game. I don't see, like Steph, you had said, like the caliber of teams. So now just this is touch one so far. I would have expected him to come off. Maybe we were struggling to the last 30 minutes. But then, like you say, Pingu, look, he's fit, he's ready to go. And if you can get teams, the hope is probably you finish teams off early and you can take them off. But we're just kind of in that limbo with them in it where, like Frank had said, we seem to, even from the first game, even though we won well last week, we're missing so many chances. And that link-up play with Wardy is probably, Kilduff's probably saying, well, he's going to unlock it for us if Perishiff isn't starting for some reason. But yeah, look, I would have definitely thought Wardy would have been a second half player. But at the way the league is, they probably don't need him in the second half, because the idea would be to be over after 60 minutes and he could have a massive impact. But look, I suppose you're right, if he's fit and he's impacting the game, why wouldn't he start?
You fairly backtracked out of that one, Gallagher.
No, well, I would hold my hand up. I'm shocked the amount of starts he's had. Like three on the bounce, considering what we have.
I couldn't hear you for most of that, Kelly, so I just agree with you.
So that's normal. That's normal. No, so it's definitely a surprise for me to see him play at the start so many games. There's no doubt. Now, look, the bigger teams might Cove, I don't know, but again, Cove's an Astro, so like, I mean, they're going to be well suited to when they go down there. But yeah, I would have expected him. I'd hold my hands. I would have fully expected him to play the last maybe 30 minutes of a match. But yeah, look, he's in there. He's getting it done. We don't, again, like Steph, you'd said, we don't know what perish if there's an injury there or something. We don't know. But just taking Frank's point on chances, you know, even like we're 17 minutes in, we haven't even mentioned that we actually scored in the first half. Just for yourself, Steph, where you played right full, that area of the pitch, that little, you know, that probably tapper that the striker comes across, is it a penalty for you? It was kind of a debate kind of on Twitter, but is it a penalty as quick as the ref made it out to be?
Ask Pingu.
Obviously, we have no VAR.
I only heard it on the radio, so I'll have
to. We'll go to you for.
I'll have to look back on the highlights to make a call on it. But yeah, look, there seemed to be a bit of debate about whether it was a penalty or not. I just dropped off. Didn't want to answer.
He can't handle the argument himself.
Didn't want to answer.
Yeah, he just comes across. He just kind of, the striker comes across him. It's one of them that I suppose if you're playing full back, either you put your foot in, he's going to run into you anyway. You know, it's just one of them, and it just kind of, it looks like a clip. To me, it didn't look firsthand that it was a penalty, but we don't have that advantage of replaying first division. But say Stephen McDonald kind of didn't know what to say about it. But look, we'll take it. I'm sure if we watch it back, it probably is, you know, by the letter of the law, probably is a penalty. Pingu, what do we think? Have we got us there? Can you unmute yourself there? No, all the way from Chicago.
He said he doesn't know what I said, but he disagrees with it anyway.
Pingu, can you unmute yourself? This is going to be some crack people listening to this live. This is back on the Spotify. Pingu, you just let me know when you're on. It means Steph's going to keep talking. Did you get us there? You have us. Go. No.
Unmute yourself, yeah. He's in.
There we go. Look, he's a disaster. Chris Clark, get on here quick to sort this out. So
I can't take him seriously with them headphones.
We get our penalty, and actually in the build-up to it, it probably is against the run play. Longford finally had a bit of the ball, but again, Ebby stepped up. He's been, I think we talked about him last week, myself and Chris. He's been a fantastic. Like, I would have only known him from stats, probably, you know, scoring at loan. He wouldn't probably seen a lot of him play in first division, but he's been absolutely top class this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, and look, I think he's
in the poor opposition, I suppose.
Yeah, he's been the target man. He's been the marksman, I suppose. He's scored the goals. You can't take that away from him. There's the 3D match we were up at 2 weeks ago. I think I'm probably being overcritical of everyone here, but like sometimes in his build-up play, you just like him to be a little bit better. I know he played in Wales and different things like that, but you can see he's definitely he's an eye for goal. He finishes chances when he gets them, unless it's a second penalty. And yeah, but like maybe he's still growing into the team. Maybe he's still getting used to people's runs and different things. So I'd like to judge him fully in another couple of weeks. But yeah, like look, we might be scratching our heads if we didn't have that goal scorer in the team that he is, and we'd be on a lot less points if we didn't have him signed. But yeah, look, his build-up play, hopefully that improves. But look, you'd like to see progression the whole time. You're looking like we're in a good position where we're top of the league, and we're still looking at little things we can improve. So at least you're not going like last year. You were thinking, oh, the squad's a bit limited and we can't do this. But you can see the little bits and pieces in this team where you can see where they can improve. Where, you know, some of the younger lads are going to grow into it a bit. And as an experienced striker, you'd like to think that he'll start to link up with these lads a lot more. But on the flip side of that as well, like I said, some of the final delivery's been extremely poor for me. So look, I'm sure he'd like a bit better delivery as well to get on the end of some of these crosses.
Pingu, what I was asking before you get interrupted, can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yeah.
As you're watching the game, I was asking Steph as a a right back playing that position, the striker comes across. Is it a penalty for you? Obviously, we take it absolutely, but the referee seemed to blow really, really quick for it. There's a bit of hesitation, I thought, even from the commentators, from Stephen McDonald. But was it a penalty for yourself?
From how it looked on telly, I mean, yeah, I think it probably was a penalty. But I think, I don't know if the referee felt like he got it wrong, because I think he blew up for the offside in the second chance. Very, very well. He made the decision. He overruled the linesman. So I think that was kind of maybe second guessed it. But I mean, from that angle, it's hard to tell as well. Chris Clark's not the best cameraman up there for those.
Some of the shots tonight were shocking.
I know they were. Yeah. Stop talking about Ebby. That's harsh, Kelly. Or stop talking about Kenny there. Steph will start getting angry with you for that one. But no,
I want to see a Ruby shot at the end after the final whistle.
But yeah, look, it looked a penalty to me. But yeah, the second one was the one that the tin tomato there to kind of
just pay off the time.
Yeah, it was. I think they said on commentary that was more clear cut, but I don't know. It felt like the referee was quick to make it, but as I said, the offside, he didn't want to give that goal at all, did he?
No, I think it looked that obvious of an offside from the second ball. You didn't actually know it was offside. You know that kind of way. It looked like he was that. It looked like you didn't know if he'd ran that quick in.
Yeah.
That everybody missed it. And then what clearly happened after that, the referees obviously had a mail and gone over and had a chat. We don't really know. It seems to be really, really strange. The linesman hasn't raised that flag.
Well, that's the thing. I'm wondering, did the cross come from behind? Like, did he cross it back behind himself? Because if that's the case, then it's not offside,
Yeah.
Anyway, it's neither here nor there.
Steph, penalty in the second one? Or did you see the second one? It's kind of one of them where the striker kind of goes. I can't remember if it's a striker. Is it Kenny that goes in for it? I can't remember who goes in for it. But it's come right on the end line with the goalkeeper, and you've kind of half gone looking for it, and then the keeper really just can't really get out of the way and just kind of takes him down and blocks him off. So again, another quick decision from the ref. It's just one of them nights in a couple of minutes where he's awarded 2 penalties really fast.
Yeah, sometimes you sort of get that a ref is in the back of his head going, maybe I made the wrong call there for the penalty decision. So like they'll try and even it up, up the other end to give another penalty. But yeah, he's probably pulled himself out and said, even if it's a 50-50 of an offside, I'll blow it up. But yeah, like sometimes it's hard to tell. I usually stand right directly on the edge of the box at the turn end, so it had a perfect view if he was offside or not. But you'd imagine when he's hit the penalty, he's obviously well inside the box at that stage. So yeah, we'll give the refs the benefit of the doubt, because we've seen a lot of bad referees over the last while. But
and not to go back, obviously, look, it's I don't know if it's a surprising first half, but we come into the second half, and I think after about an hour we made our first sub. Obviously, I don't want to mention Keith Ward's name again in case World War II breaks out here between the two of you again, but Keith Ward's come off after 62 and Perishif has come on. Now, we could do a whole podcast on this young fella, like 18 years of age, come in from Cleveland North. I think he was he at Shells at one stage? He'd come on, played the left wing at the very first game of the season, and I thought he was excellent, but he's found his feet last week against, like, the game against Bray was just sensational in the middle of the park with Groom. But again, he's come on. Now I'll hold my hands up because there's no replay. I've actually missed the cross or the goal. I've just seen it going in, but I've actually missed his assist. But I've heard it's absolutely outstanding. But this guy, if we can take even a minute to talk about him, I think we've taken 2 minutes every week to speak about him. His quality on the ball, his like Stephen McDonald had mentioned, he's so relaxed looking on the ball. He takes it all in his stride. He's a real quality footballer. Like that's going to be massive for us as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think he might have played with Shells. Did Stevie Mac mention that, Steph, on the commentary? I think he might have mentioned
he definitely played with Bowes. I don't know about Shells.
Could have been Bowes. Could we mix him up with Mark, right, the guy that scored for Longford? All right, yeah.
Ruby played with Shells underage. I know that.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was Ronaldinho at times there tonight when he came off the bench. I thought the move that he done for the cross in for the goal was class. And again, I think Steph is still celebrating Owen Kenny hitting the back of the net and getting another match winner this week. But But even just, to your point, Gally, I can't remember which game it was. I think it might have been Kerry when he came on against Kerry, and he made one clearance against the really good Kerry winger. I can't remember what his name was now, but he started like giving it one of these up to the Dundalk fans after, and he just seems like a player that just, again, he's given, well, all of them do in fairness, but he seems to be enjoying playing for Dundalk, and I think he's someone that probably, it seems like he understands the history of the club and what it means to play at Dundalk as well. But tonight, I mean, he probably had 100% pass record tonight, even though a lot of passes were within 5 yards. But it seemed like, and me and Steph were texting kind of off out of our group chat, and he, we were talking about Keith Ward before, but no, it seemed like anything that was happening in the second half, it was him. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems like it was coming through him. He was the one that was trying to get on the ball, and he was trying to make things happen as well. So, I look at, there's no second guessing who my pick is for man of the match, even if he did only play about 30 minutes. I think he, at a time where, it looked in the second half, Ebby Gax had gone a little bit quiet. I think Parashev just kind of turned it up a notch for us, didn't he, Steph?
Yeah, he definitely did. Quack. You can hear your speaker there or something, or your headphones. Look, I think he was the game changer there. I don't know if we might have got the breakthrough if he hadn't come on, but look, he come on and it was just magic. And Dean was slagging me off, saying, Kenny couldn't miss. He was that close in. I was nearly going over the line. It's that.
I said you would have scored a Kelly.
That is bad, lads. That is bad. If any chance of I score, that is bad.
I have to bounce. Sorry, Steph. I have to bounce, but I'll chat to you later. All right.
Very good. Thanks very much.
See you, lads. No, sorry, Steph.
Next, it'll be Chris Clark. If Chris gets it, we're going to be that fast. And probably if Chris gets out of Oriel Park, he might get on the show if he's lucky. Go on, Steph. You were saying.
I was going to say, if you were the Longford defender, you would have scored. No goal. But look, I think he has a bit of class to him. A lot of these young lads, the later years, they're so, I don't know where they definitely have the confidence about them. And when I was coming up, and I probably went against me and a couple of other lads, that you were sort of shitting yourself when you were going into this first team. Even going up training with some of the lads, you were like, should I be here? That sort of way. And look,
it seems to be a, obviously, look, times have moved on, and training is different, and strength, all this kind of thing. But even like we keep saying it every week, Kilduff and Ken Keown have set this kind of tone in the group where, yes, look, they're in charge, and you have to do what you have to, stay in line and stuff like that. But there seems to probably a relaxed, almost motivation about it, where lads are encouraged to come in and play. Like the night we done in Oriel Park when we got Ken on, he had mentioned Luke Mulligan straight at the gate. It was from one of the early ones that he said this guy, not afraid to step up, not afraid to get on the ball, demand the ball. And that's all you want to me. If you've got that confidence in you, and at different times, of course, but if you've got that, you got to have that nowadays. Whereas lads like yourself might have been a little bit shy, things were different back at that stage. But, it's just a different level now. And, you look at Sean Spate tonight, 16 years of age, like, Spates come off on Mulligan as well. That kind of swap was unheard of 10 years ago. But these lads just seem to be on another level.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with you there. I think the age profile as well, it probably helps that Dundalk have a lot, younger players in the team, and there's just a sprinkle of experience, where it was the other end of the scale, where I was coming into a team that was like a Premier Division team in the First Division, and there was a lot of experienced players, late 20s, 30s, like, you know what I mean, early 30s and stuff like that. But I have tipped my hat to every single one of them, like 15-year-olds even being involved in a squad, then playing minutes, starting matches, 16, 17-year-olds who are like, the likes of Vinnie Leonard, I'm sure you have spoken about in the last couple of weeks, and obviously he's away on international duty. Even Sean Coe, you'd nearly swear he was late 20s, just his presence in the team, and how he's taken to senior football like a duck to water sort of thing. But yeah, like even young Spade tonight, like he's like there's no way you could point to him and say, "Oh, tell somebody he was just gone 16." Like,
Yeah.
it's
It's only when
outrageous.
it's only when Adrian Taft said, I thought he was 18. It's only when he said it, you're like,
Yeah,
like you said, Leonard, Q last season. I still remember we came on here and we were talking about Sean Q's debut, and he had a bit of a mare in the first half. I think he might have actually caused a goal. But then when you fast forward to now, the difference, the level, like Sean Q would probably, like, I mean, there's no point saying he'd play for any team in the first division, of course he would. But at left back, people, if we look for touch wood, if for some reason we don't get up, that kind of player will go straight to the Premier Division. He's a quality footballer.
and look, he's a starter for the Ireland 19.
Hmm.
So look, I'd say there could be a good few clubs interested in him. Even last year when we tied him down to a contract, I was
Yeah,
thinking, we've actually done our business right for once
yeah.
in that sense where we were tying him down because there would have been interest even off the back of him just being an international. Never mind anything else. So yeah, like look, it's great to see himself, Leonard, Spate. Um, I can't even think Mulligan was in around the international squads just to see them coming through because you'd have one underage international every so often, but to have so many,
Yeah.
it's good that we've been able to retain them, and it's good that they're playing a big part now, and even TJ Malloy in around the squad and getting minutes, like I'm sure. Like last year, I think he was playing under 14s football. Like
Yeah.
it's
It's crazy.
a state, like it's mind blowing stuff, sort of thing. So yeah,
And,
but look,
and,
fair
and
play to them, and hopefully it continues now, and it's great that they are getting the opportunities because you know previous seasons would they've got in, would they have not? It's hard to know. Like I know Sean Keogh did get in, so but Luke Mulligan really struggled to get any sort of minutes at all. So yeah, like look, it's probably one of those things where it's the stars have aligned for them, and they've been able to get into the squad. But look, you just don't get into a squad and get minutes and playing for no reason. They're obviously impressing and training. They're obviously learning, and they're really making a good impression on the manager for him to trust them.
yeah, I think we said it last week. It's almost kind of, it's the perfect blend of, we've had the heartache of first division, relegation to first division. But, like you say, if we were in the Premier Division, these boys would still be kicking us at the youths, that'd be kind of trying to knock to the door. And even in the case of the managers, if we had a went for, like I think I mentioned at the end of last season, maybe a more experienced manager who's used to getting people up, but with that experienced manager giving these young fellas a run, it's one of them things that it's almost as a culmination of, it's everything's just come together pair for them. But we don't want to mention that every week, but I think it's going to be the overriding, I think, factor and almost a vital ingredient to the season that these young lads are getting minutes. Like you mentioned, TJ Malloy, definitely probably looking for more minutes, but I mean, just to be even involved. Like you say, like I still remember watching him. He played for John Brendan, mate of mine, Chris's brother-in-law. He played for RD not that long ago. Like an absolute, like different class. I mean, look, there's some serious talent in the local league, but he was always a little bit of cut above. And he's been involved at Irish level and at the youth level as well. But these lads, these are waiting in the wings to come on. They're not even getting as much time as they would want, and they don't really need. Look at even like a Ruby tonight comes on in the 90th minute. Like I think James Rogers had to start up early. He scored, I think, his first goal against Dundalk. I think it was 4 years ago, something like that for Shells. But like, these lads are probably expecting to play. We kind of had a Ruby and a Tree at the start of the year, or Kenny, or Ruby, Ebby, and he's not seeing a lot of minutes. And that's a credit to what the lads have done behind the scenes and getting these young fellas involved straight at the gate that are keeping these boys on the bench.
Yeah. No, look, it's good even to have those options because, like you said, the squad was a bit threadbare now the last couple of weeks with the injuries and the suspension as well. So, yeah, look, they've definitely stepped up to the plate, and it's been a joy to see. Like we've been crying out. I know we had all this success of Kenny, but you could probably count on one hand how many players have come through the youth system at that sort of period.
Yeah.
And look, you can't knock Kenny for what he's done or what his vision is, or like the sort of wage profile he commands as a manager. So yeah, it's a different end of the scale sort of thing. But yeah, look, I think we're reaping the benefits of, them John Daly integrating some of the players into the squad and making them starters last year, and they've just kicked on another level now this season again. I'd say Kieran Clough and Ken Kiernan were sort of, rubbing their hands together. I know Ken worked with Sean Keogh at Chels, and he was saying sometimes you need to kick up the backside to push him on, drive him on, give him that wee bit of extra. But yeah, look, he's been excellent so far this season, and he's chipped in with a free kick, and has he scored two? He's definitely got one anyway, one in Finn Harps. But if he starts chipping in with goals as well, he's been very impressive for me anyway.
We might as well bring this one in for the last couple of minutes here. Christopher, you were busy in Oriel Park tonight. Welcome to the
podcast. Thanks very much. Just as well that other fella took the scarpert off, huh? Having a go at my camera work and him watching it, sitting on the couch, sitting in Chicago through the means of my technology. But no, he's welcome. He's welcome.
Steph wanted to see that a Ruby chance after the final whistle. It's a pity. I'd say that hit absolute top ends. The camera didn't follow them.
Still going, is it?
We were just talking. We were just mentioning.
So we wanted to know.
I think anybody that's
the whistle was done.
Anybody that jumps into these podcasts probably over the next 10 to 15 games is probably going to, no matter where you jump in the 30, 40 minutes, we're going to be talking about the youth, these youth players that are coming in. Again, we're talking about tonight. Parashifts come on, like Steph says, and rightly so, he's come on and probably changed the game. A bit more balance in midfield, as Frank had mentioned. We didn't even mention Tracy tonight. We didn't even get a chance to mention him and all. We almost forgot that we've gone through the Sean Spates and things like that. But these lads are going to be, like we keep saying, Chris, they're going to be vital, but they're keeping the likes of a Ruby on the bench. We've had Wardy starting tonight again. We've had Groom and centre back, but these lads are dotted in around the field, and it's looking. I don't want to say stupidly strong, but we have so many options. Like even TJ Malloy, we were just talking before you come on. He's not even getting that much time, but again, you have him to look at. Played at youth level at international football. We've obviously got Sean Keogh away and Vinnie Leonard away on international duty as well. It's a real kind of. Although we haven't been excellent tonight, and there's not a lot of talking points, which is ironic considering we've won 2-1. It's not a massively Longford, like Steph said. They're really. The poor is probably. Look, I don't want to be too harsh because we have an excellent setup, but we haven't really come up against anybody that's been, kind of challengers, I suppose. Look, there's been tight games, but these young lads are just blended in so well against the opposition that's been put in front of us, and it just seems to be going smoothly, I suppose, knock on wood, so far.
Yeah. Like I got to listen to just what you were saying there. Like you're right. We've never had an opportunity like this in a team in a season where we can actually bleed in these young lads, and the difference being that everyone that steps in seems to be able to reach those levels that we require as well. Like we're not just throwing anyone in for the sake of it or whatever, or just to say we've had somebody there. Like it's definitely lads who have contributed and done well. And like I say, you see the two lads with call-ups and stuff like that as well, which goes to show. I think if you mentioned to Keller though that he was going to lose like another player somewhere, he was telling me he was contemplating lacing up the boots tonight because he was just that short. Like Maioa and Chief on the bench, like we're never getting a game. But he did say that he wanted him on the bench just because there was so many young lads tonight that their experience, like on match day, would be invaluable to them and just take a bit of nerves away from one or two that was starting and stuff like that. But yeah, like to a man, everyone that's come on definitely has made an impact on the team. Probably, like you said tonight, not the fiercest of opposition, but that worked out well. I think they tried, maybe they were slightly open in the first half. I think Dean Ebbe is probably wondering how he didn't score a hat-trick in that first half. For a second half, they seem to do a swap and kind of drop very deep. And Steph will probably know more on that, but they seem to drop very deep back and try to soak up some of those balls, try to cut out any angled balls that was coming through, which meant going forward, they offered very little, if anything, at all in the second half. And it also reminded me of right up to 85 minutes with Treaty Galley, where the opposition done nothing, and that's going to be our biggest problem. And we said that at the start of the season, that teams are going to come to Oriel Park and just sit in, and we have to somehow find a way of unlocking defenses. And it just seemed to be like a masterstroke from Killer to bring in Parashev when he did. I don't think he was 100%, which is why he was worried about risking him or not tonight. And definitely wasn't one then to start, which worked out great for young Tracy then to get in and get that first start for him. But I think that Parashev just coming in just showed a touch of class above everything else. And what is he, 21?
18.
He's not even. He's 18, I think.
18. Like, yeah, he's bags. Like, but when he came on, he looked like he had bags of experience because he's cool, calm, and so influential on everything that was good about us going forward then as well. Set up for the goal, the little flick around the corner for Horgan in the second half as well, that nearly brought in another goal. I think Horgan probably was wondering why he passed it instead of shooting on that time. But it just goes to show that right now we seem to be purring, and that's a game. It could have ended in a draw very easily because they were just got so negative in the second half, and the onus was on us, and you were looking without those key players to bring in and really make an impact. But to come out with everyone that was on that pitch and the changes he made, like it's ideal for him. Be a different test against Wexford next week.
Yeah, I'm more guilty. And what Frank had said, Frank Howard, it seems like about 3 hours ago now, but the last line there, like most oppositions would be like this, but we say it every week, Chris. Although we've had great, Bray and Treaty was obviously 2-2, but Bray the last game, we have to start taking more chances because eventually, like you say, it could have ended in a draw, and we will get caught eventually. Now, obviously, Treaty had caught us out a lapse of 8 or 9 minutes in football, but we have to be scoring more. I mean, look at we were giving it last year, we couldn't score at all, and here we are top of the table. But these chances will go begging in some game, and you will be punished badly eventually. And likes of it, maybe a Cove Ramblers, depending on a Wexford in next week again, another team that'll fancy their chances against us. But we got to start taking, because for me, they're just taking an extra touch or an extra step with a ball that they don't need, instead of just hitting first time sometimes. Like the penalty in fairness comes about because they've taken an extra touch. Yeah. But we got to start finishing these chances off. And look, it's a 2-1 win. It's fantastic. It's a poor look. It's a really not a poor game, but it's just that there's nothing really. Like Steph said, Longford aren't really putting anything up to us. But like you say, one good chance for Longford later on could have changed it all with the 3D-esque again. But we have to start taking these chances earlier. Yeah, and like I think if you add up the chances that we created in the first half, you've got to be more clinical. Yeah. Obviously we could have and should have had 2 penalties converted. I think first one he took extremely well, and then the second one, it strikes me as halfway through he decided, should I put this somewhere else? And then just didn't hit it with the conviction that he wanted. It's the perfect height for a keeper. It's not in a corner. And the keeper guessed the same way as he did last time. And, I think that's the difference. He wasn't like, if you look how hard and true he hits the first one, it's night and day compared to the second. And I think it just showed on that. But from the header he had, he was getting into the right position, Steen Ebbe, and probably the bounce of a ball away maybe from having another in the first half. But I think Killer and Ken will probably look at that first half and say, excellent, created what we could, should we be more clinical? Yes. And then the second half is just a carbon copy of what we've seen so often this season, just teams sitting in and us having to break them down, I don't think Peter Cherry had anything to do in that second half at all. We'll just be so disappointed that the goal we did concede from the long throw in, it's originally dealt with, but when it's recycled back in, the player seems to run in between our 2 centre halves and gets an amazing wee flick in, and it kind of catches Pete out. But it's disappointing because when you look at the game as a whole, take away that chance and what else have they done? Like that's a disappointing thing. But
Yeah, like I think I don't know how you're going to sum up your section on Harry Groom tonight. Like, what other positions can he
Harry
play,
Groom,
Gary?
like, that's it. Like Steph had said, I think Steph said he's like a quarterback. He probably didn't know what he was like. He was just pinging passes. It was just like, he was
Steph,
that used to just passing the ball.
I wanted to ask Steph because every time I seen him, he was given the ball by McHale or whatever. He just picked up the ball. Suddenly he's driving forward, and you could see McHale going, "Get back here quick!" Like I'd say the defenders must have been like, "Remember where you're playing," and try to reinforce his position today.
Yeah, and that's probably just instinctively, what he does when he's in midfield, and then obviously as a centre half in the modern game, you have a bit more time in the ball. So he probably thought, this is amazing here. Do you know what I mean? He probably wants to play there every week. But yeah, look, I think we just missed a bit with him being further back down the field. It just it was a tough game for young Tracy to come into. I think for him to start, I don't think he's done massively wrong or anything, but I think at times like it just bypassed him a little bit. But you can't really be critical of him on his first start. I think we just missed Groom picking up a ball or Parashev picking up a ball and having that confidence either to spray the ball or, link the wee passes through. And look, we just like a few more bodies back, because I think Wexford again are going to be a step up. Mikey Rowe seems like he's on a bit of form. He's scored again tonight. He's probably up there with Ebbe in the charts as well. And just at one,
they're probably missing Aaron Dobbs though, aren't they?
Yeah. He's been out for a while now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't really started the season at all. So I think
he
they're going to be happy to be picking up whatever points they are until they get him back.
Yeah, he seems to be the real, the real man to go to get a goal, and they'll probably star player, and that's probably why we were very interested in him. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him down, but yeah, like look, they're going to be a bit more of a threat, you'd imagine, than Longford. Next week, you'd probably like to get a few more bodies back as well, and then you're obviously rolling into the Cove game. But just at one stage, I looked at the table and it was 1-1, and Cove had just scored to go 1-0 up, and I was going, they're just after leapfrogging us there for a split second, and so it was vitally important just to keep ahead of them. They just put a slight bit more pressure on them to like try and beat us in the first time we match up with them now in a couple of weeks. But yeah, like look, I think we're trying to nitpick. We're top of the league. We're probably like we were bookies' favourites. I couldn't understand it at the start of the year, but they're proven to be right at the minute anyway. But you just a little bit that's creeping in now where you're saying, you like to finish more chances, or we got caught out of against Treaty, which probably wasn't the worst thing to happen us, which probably give us a bit of a slap in the face and a reality check. And we done our job last week, and then we roll into this week. I think everyone just thought possibly we just steamroll these tonight, but yourself, the first division can be unforgiving. But yeah, look, I think it was vitally important we got the 3 points and just stay at the top of the tree.
Before
Steph,
we get out,
I was going to just say, you can see a small gap on the table now. It's like 7-point gap back to Wexford with ourselves and Cove, and we kind of said with the budget that's there. Steph, do you think that we're the two unbeaten teams in this division as well? Do you think is this what you're probably going to see is it'll be a race between ourselves and Cove?
You'd like to hope so. keep the rest of them at bay. Yeah, I think it's shaping up to be that way. I think the 3 teams that we'd all spoke about was ourselves, Cove, and Athlone, but Athlone haven't really set the world on light down there just of yet. They're chipping away probably in the background, but I sort of expected them to be a lot closer to us in the top 3. But yeah, like look, you look at the Cove squad, and I think they got the late goals against Treaty on the first day, and then they dropped points second and third week. So that's like the one draw behind us. And you know what? Look, we could have be sitting there with maximum points, and we probably should have. But yeah, I think I think they've a very strong squad. They seem to be a lot more experienced than us, but yeah, he'd back us every day of the week to.
What have I missed, lads?
Oh,
I tell you, this is what you have to pull. Yeah. David Sally's comment that we're going to have to. This is what we're going to call the podcast. Spotify.
No problem.
You missed, in the first part of the show, you missed a little exchange over Keith Ward. We started this conversation how
Gally started.
It was my fault. We said it last week because we didn't expect him probably to start, and he started again. So he's 3 in the bounce now. We kind of expected him maybe last season when he signed to be kind of a second half, impact. Yeah. But now this debate started. Pinky was basically saying, "Well, wait a minute. Well, he's been paid probably the one of the highest in the club. Why shouldn't he be playing?" And Steph basically rebutted with it. Well, you can't be just playing because you're being paid high. You got to be. So this whole debate started. This was in the first couple of minutes. So he got into the game.
He said Kilduff signed him to be a starter. He didn't just bring him in to be a bit part player, and he's obviously the second or third highest paid player at the club, so he should be starting. And I just said, that's no reason just to be starting. And I said, if he has his full squad to choose from, is he a starting player for you?
Wow.
And he didn't answer it. So
he literally just disappeared there from the screen and came back on. I'm
waiting for
the box to pop up where he comes back on here.
Oh wow.
Everyone has their own opinions on different things, but I always think I'm right. So
well, there we go. That's that decided.
and I'm probably very rarely right.
I suppose anybody who is still watching, was any more last minute man of the match, get them in the next kind of 60 seconds, I suppose, if you want to try and win yourself a pizza. We'll just get on to maybe like the likes of Wexford for next week. Wexford have obviously come in tonight. They've been bet by Kerry. Another team that might be, obviously James Kelly was there last year, but maybe expecting to kind of hover about. It won't be an easy one for us. We've got a game in between that as well. But when it comes to the league, like we say, Cove obviously in April, late April is going to be the big one. But these type of games as well, this should be probably, on paper, probably should be a better game than what we faced so far. And I don't want to be disrespectful to the teams because it'll come back to haunt us, no doubt. We say so much crap on this podcast. Everything is back to bite us.
Everything.
But I don't want to be too disrespectful. But Wexford should really prove it. A better test than what we've had so far, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think they'll be probably looking to bounce back as well. So it'll be one of them. Is it a good time to play them, or is it not? Like, now that they're wounded and stuff like that. But I think the fact that they were beaten at home, they're back out on the road, that'll be the interesting thing. I think, like from their point of view, like Steph just mentioned, I think they're probably trying to amass as many points as they can, even without Aaron Dobbs, and hoping to get back. Then he can shoot them into contention then for it. They'll just want to stay in touch with us. Probably a draw to be happy enough with. But what at the moment, it's very hard to say what sort of a Dundalk squad you're even going to get now, because I think Killer said probably still 2 weeks maybe for Mayo and Chief. So that game still might come too early for them, which means you're still playing Dervin out of position. You should have the lads back from international, I'm assuming, at that stage though. So your defense might look a little more similar to we've seen for the past few weeks, but it's still not back to its full strength. And you like you just mentioned, you lose a bit in the middle of the park when you have to move lads around then to accommodate then as well. So it's hard to know. It's hard to know.
Again, every game we play until the first round's over, we don't know what we're dealing with really, because again, we've been privileged for the last 15 years.
But then even it's hard to fully say what team that Kilduff's going to be able to put out, because from all his performances over the past while, you would say Andy Parashev is probably one of the first names on the team sheet. And then he's on the bench today, and you've got Harry Groom in there, and then you realise, well, hang on a second, who's playing centre back here? Wait, it's Harry Groom. So like, you know, we've lads playing out of position right now just to accommodate this, which is, it's a strange one, and that doesn't lead you to naturally say we should be able to have enough in it to beat other teams, because if we're kind of patching up stuff, you know, it's not the fluid football that you'd like to see us play with, of lads in their natural position. So in that sense, it's hard to know as well. But it's definitely, I think we said these next two games is probably the big character test for this Dundalk team, and I think you'd want to make sure you come out the right side at these next two fixtures.
Yeah, I think just for me, Wexford, it's keeping an eye on that result tonight. Like, Kerry were 2-0 up after 5 minutes, so I don't know if we can draw a line under that, because obviously Wexford had enough time to recover, and they've obviously got one back, you know, in the last 15 minutes. But I think Livingston getting sent off for them near the end, it was the second yellow, so I assume he misses our match, would he?
It'll definitely be a one match anyway,
Yeah, it was the second yellow, so yeah, I think he'll be a miss for them. He's obviously come in from Bowes, and you know, he played a lot of games last season. So I'd imagine he'll be a miss for them. Obviously, they're already missing Dobbs. You reckon he won't be back?
No, I don't think so.
But look, I wouldn't be. I don't think we underestimated Longford, but the feeling around was just that, you know, we'll just beat them. We'll probably beat them 2 or 3, and it didn't really materialize like that. So look, I don't think we can. Longford were apparently the whipping boys, even though they did not been beaten by more than 1 goal, I think, apart from the Cove match. So look, you can't take anything for granted, especially not in this first division. But you can't, like, I'm not worried about complacency or, you know, coming into the squad's train of thought that we'll just rock up to Oriel and beat Wexford and come back out again. We'll need to do a professional job, even if we're not firing on all cylinders. I think we'll still need to do our work right, and it's been near on perfect up to now. So if we are really, you know, just blowing teams out of the water, then you'd be like, you know, excited saying there's going to be a drop off soon. But we're not really at full tilt yet, and we're still winning games. So how can you argue with that? Like,
it'd be a real challenge, though, wouldn't it, to get to the end of this opening round of fixtures unbeaten? I think that could be,
and that's probably a goal. That's probably a goal.
I think that's a real statement of intent of where we are as a team as well. If we can go that far in, having played everybody and still be undefeated, I think that'd be a fairly achievable goal as well. I suppose we have to go down to Cove. Am I right?
Yeah, that's 26th, is it?
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough enough.
Oh no, actually. So I just have the fixtures here. So we've Wexford at home, UCD away the following week.
Yeah.
Cove at home.
Was it Cove at home?
Oh, home. Oh, okay.
On the 11th.
But those next 3 fixtures then, to finish it out, then if you're playing both Wexford and Cove at home, then you'd be looking to try to go unbeaten. Then that should be the goal for this team. Then you would like to think.
Yeah.
And the away match then at UCD, the only thing you'd worry there is the UCD pitch isn't still fully back up to scratch yet after the rugby in it and stuff like that. So
after the ploughing championships.
Exactly. So that's, although you're looking at their results of late and going, they're struggling to find anything, but they'll definitely get extra motivation of us rolling up.
Yeah, they've drawn their three home games to date, so
yeah, so it shows that they're probably more used to that surface than anyone else.
Yeah. Well, look, UCD was notorious for going down there and having, you know, good footballing teams, young, energetic teams, like. But yeah, look, they haven't started the best. They've drawn 3 and lost 2, so I'm not gonna be going down there fearing them or anything like that. But look, just look after the business and Wexford, and then start turning your attention to that after.
I think the only thing left for tonight, albeit what are we on? Well, no, we're not bad, lads. A 2-1 home win first division game into 2025 against Longford with 2 penalties. You know, it's not a bad hour to spend on a Friday night. But we get stuck into a man of the match competition. I know, Steph, you were listening to on the radio, so we'll maybe go to you after. We talked to Christopher there on the camera, who missed a Ruby's chance. The
final whistle have blown, lads.
Final whistle chance. Chris, man of the match for you tonight.
Again, Christopher.
I think for industry and everything in the first half in particular, you're probably thinking Dean Ebby had a good game. He'll rue his missed penalty and the other chances he had. I think for a substitute appearance from Andy Parashev, it was immense. Really, really good. I would have loved to see him longer on the pitch. I think for Sean Spade and Tracy as well, I think solid enough games from them, but I'm going to be tempted to go for the old Harry Groom here again, playing out of position and just still looked really good. There might be a question mark, Steph might have a go at me, maybe positioning or whatever for the opening goal, that a player gets in between him and McHale, and they won't be happy with that. But that's where I'm tempted to go is go with Harry Groom, just because he played the full game. If honestly, if Andy Parashev played 5 more minutes, I'd give it to him.
Pingu, was it Pingu showed earlier? It was a Pingu or you, Steph? Pingu showed earlier on with Parashev, was it, I think?
It was. Yeah. I heard that, yeah.
Go on, Steph.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Dean here. We had a wee spat earlier.
They've kissed and made up already.
Kissed and made up, yeah. He's after texting me, very sorry.
Is this your text off the group, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, that was the private DM he sent me.
That's what kicked it all off.
Fucking hell, just fucking very jealous in this group now. But yeah, look, I thought it's hard to take it off Kenny because he scored a winner. He was industrious as usual, and you know he was a threat. But I thought Parashev was just brilliant when he came on. I know he had limited time, and probably even more so that you're saying he's picked up a bit of a knock during the week, Chris, that he wasn't able to start. So it makes it even more impressive that he came on and had that impact. And I don't think without himself, I don't think we pick up the 3 points. So I'm going to have to shoot for Parashev.
Oh, the deciding one now lies with you.
Parachute that one in there.
So we're counting Pingus in this as well, are we? Oh, is it just...
No, he's not here.
No,
he's not. I love how he just jumped off after the fight and said, we're not even going to count them now.
You go for Kenny and then
I think
man's land.
I was surprised he made the comments for Kenny. Look, he's very industrious, very kind of. I think we've mentioned him every week, Chris. I don't know if he's won.
Yeah, I don't think he's won it yet, though.
But he has been mentioned almost every week. His running off the ball, his attitude. But then you get overshone by something like Parashev coming off the edge. But for me, Jason, I thought nobody's going to mention him the whole night. I thought Tracy was excellent in the middle of the park. I thought he was excellent. I thought for someone to come in, you know, I don't know how long a notice he would have got. I thought he was excellent. It is really difficult. I know. I nearly feel sorry for Owen because I'd love to see his kind of his stat sports or whatever they're using now for every kind of, you know, fitness and development and all this kind of crack. But I thought Tracy was excellent. Although, yeah, Jason has gone for another player, but I thought Tracy was just a real solid performance. But that he would be for me. But Parashev, yeah, absolutely. I mean, to come on and change a game like that. But I'm going to put a spanner in. I'm going to stick with Tracy. I just thought he was excellent. It was the same kind of as Vinnie Leonard. First,
you may pick a random person now. Then,
yeah, he wasn't. You know, with Vinnie Leonard at the start of the year, kind of doing exactly what he's meant to be doing exactly what he was put in for. Maybe not standing above everybody, but I think he might have got the first 2 pizzas. I think Vinnie Leonard got first 2 or 3 pizzas. He was excellent.
He did, yeah.
And in fairness to Groom at the back, you know, Leonard's a noticeable miss now because 16 years of age, you're noticeable missing at centre back. But for me, it's Tracy. I think even we're going to pick a random person, nobody probably it's a random vote from us, even with Perishiv, and nobody's picked Perishiv either. So it's going to be a random person that wins the pizza anyway. So Chris, we're going to leave it up to yourself. You're the boss.
How did that pick?
Who hasn't got a pizza?
Here we go. Manus O'Neill. Actually went for Owen Kenny, so that's everyone's pick.
There we go. The irony of it, Manus.
There we go.
And look, it's not like Owen Kenny hasn't, like, he's been excellent. I mean, like, it's not like we're giving the pizza to Owen, but I mean, he's been very harsh. He probably dealt with it over the last couple of weeks, but his work ethic is sensational. But
he'd be happy to hear you say that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Tell Stephen we said hello. But, I think that's it, lads. That wraps up. Well done, man. Don't forget.
I think it goes to show that it's another night where we're naming a few people again. It kind of goes to show how well of a performance we have, even if the opposition didn't offer a whole lot at times. I think it just goes to show that the levels that we're able, and some of these new lads coming in, like the likes we're talking about Tracy coming in there, Groom playing out of position, Andy Parishev only coming off the bench, and yet we're all saying these are all up to a high standard, to a man of the match performance. Like, so that it really credit to the team and credit to the lads for that.
Steph, agreed? Ish.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think probably there's nobody hitting 9s and 10s out of 10. But
it is early though. Do you need it?
That's what I mean. We haven't even hit top form, and you're sort of saying there's room for improvement, which is good, and we're still choking off the win. So yeah, it's hard. Like, but yeah, there's some lads coming in. Well, Broom's obviously been the standout for me, along with Sean Keogh, probably, to be honest with you. A lot of very impressive performances, especially from Leonard, and a couple of the young lads. Parashev has really impressed in big patches as well, and Ebe is getting the goals. But yeah, like, you're sprinkling around a lot of 7s, and that's coming together to get the wins for us. So that's what we need, and more of it, and hopefully we can rank it up another couple of notches as we roll into an important 3 weeks now, you feel, to finish off the first round.
Yeah.
I think it's another win there. I think is that equaling an opening season that I think won a first or second season under Kenny, I think, as well. Like, we've had that many wins in the season and going on beaten.
It's the same amount of wins in all last year.
Yeah.
Which is mental. Jesus Christ.
That sums up.
Delvin's happy with that one.
Delvin's the lady. He hasn't looked back since that press conference. We done that night in Linwood. Hasn't looked back.
Since we said he hadn't been on a winning squad, he's fairly turned that around. So fair play to him.
Since we mentioned it 4 times in half an hour, and he's really done a well. Look, we can take credit for that.
Yeah, exactly. Right, lads, we're well over the hour mark. I think we'll leave it at that. As I said, we'll be back again next week for the post-match show from the Wexford at home. Did we say home? Yes. Wexford at home. Cheers, Steph. Thanks as ever to our sponsors, to Donald Green for the overall sponsorship of the podcast, to Vinny and everyone at the award-winning Tony's Pizzeria, and to Manus O'Neill, of course. You have a free 15-inch pizza in Tony's Pizzeria there on us. So lamp in a few extra there, as Gally always says. Get something good out of it. And to Mark Carolyn as well, and all the lads there.
Who's in Vancouver tonight, he tweeted. Mark's watching. I hope he's watching from Vancouver, because he watched the game.
He's in Vancouver and Donald Green's in Singapore.
Yeah. We are multi-international.
I hope Vinny was away somewhere. And then all our sponsors were away tonight. Probably slaving away. Friday night, no rest for the wicked.
Yeah.
That's it. Dave Sally's
writing all the headlines.
He's looking for a divide in this podcast. He sees there's a gap in the podcast market after a certain one has disappeared. So he's looking for the Splinter podcast, I think. On that note, before we fall out anymore, we'll wrap it up there. And as Steph just said, come on to town.
My black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white scarf, my black and white, yeah, it's black and white, we're just black.